I don't remember how we made the connection, but I remember the first time that I saw Katie Hopkins. She was on Tucker Carlson, and she was introduced as the most hated woman in Britain. Okay, all right. I liked her from the get-go because her mission is to tell the truth that's not being told. And these days, telling the truth earns you some mighty powerful enemies. As Winston Churchill said, if you have enemies, good. That means you've stood up for something sometime in your life, and Katie has certainly drawn her share of enemies. Last year she was kicked out of Australia. I don't know what other countries she's been kicked out of, but probably some. South Africa. She went to South Africa and made a movie about what's going on there. She's been into the no-go zones and around Europe and taking a risk there. She even went into the, probably with knee-high boots, into the homeless areas in Los Angeles. So she gets out on the pointy end of the spear. She was even the subject of a jihadi plot to kidnap and behead her. And I think it's on the BBC, they did a musical, The Assassination of Katie Hopkins. Wow. Your British tax dollars at work. The thing about Katie is she makes fun of them. And they can't stand it. So she said, so when she was in Australia before she got kicked out, she says that you're living through the greatest hoax in human history. They're trying to take everything from you, and one of the very best and most powerful weapons we have is a sense of humor. And someone like me is probably a massive thorn in their sides. Rush Limbaugh did that. We just passed the one-year anniversary of his passing. He didn't just espouse conservative ideas. He made fun of them, and they hated that. They think they're the ones that are going to make fun of us. But when they get made fun of, they can't stand it. Katie has a new book out called Help. When I first saw it, I didn't know whether she was offering it or asking for it. But I think this is an autobiography and how the things that she's overcome in her life, how we can learn those lessons. And she has some great reviews on the book from Barnaby Joyce, the Deputy Prime Minister of Australia. He says, Katie Hopkins can pack her bongo drums and go back where she came from. Richard, a singer and songwriter, says, you're an inspiration and a beacon of hope for all of us. Thank God we have you, and I can say that you have saved my life by just being there to get us through those crazy times. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. A nurse with the NHS, the National Health System in Britain, Hopkins is like the Terminator. She refuses to stay down. I will be back. Karen, a charity trustee, says, I can't stand the woman or her views, but I have to admire her sheer determination to keep going. And probably the best review of the book of all is this one. It says, Katie Hopkins is the last person on the planet I would ask for help. Even then, I'd rather suffer in silence. And this is by lovely Mark, her husband. And with that, as Lincoln said of Grant, we say of Katie, we can't spare this woman, she fights.
All right, let's see how we go. So every time, thank you very much for that, and thank you, Greg. Every time I come here, this sound system just about makes it. Every time I come, there's a moment where the sound system definitely isn't going to work, and there's people at the back of the room frantically trying to mend it. And every time, somehow it comes good, right? Just at the end. So I think a big round of applause for Greg's sound system for leaping on through very tough times. Yeah, my name is Katie Hopkins. Can I get a hands up if I can see? Who doesn't know me or has never heard me before? Oh, quite a few. Okay. Should we tell them? So I come with a kind of, what would we say, health and safety warning. I just tend to go with it. I go with my heart, and I don't hold back. And I have no filter. So if anybody feels at any time that I have violated them, Greg takes full responsibility for that. And he's also the salt monitor. So if things get too salty, Greg is going to let me know. But if you do feel at any time offended by anything that's happened in this room, please do complain to Greg, because he was obviously in charge. So my name is Katie Hopkins. I describe myself as a straight, white, Christian, conservative, married mother of 3 children, a nationalist and a patriot. And I'm proud to be all of those things. Where I come from, I'm increasingly an endangered species, but it's great to be here amongst you guys, and I say that with all my heart. Every time I come back here, I've just been sitting there thinking the very same thing, is that I'm always struck by the fact that this is the America that I love. You people are the America that I love, because you people are the people that work tirelessly. You keep going endlessly. The fight is tougher and tougher, and still you run up on the stage and shout about your petitions. And I love each and every one of you, because you're the very best of America as well. People tell me, California, oh Katie, California, it's deep blue. And I say to them, no, it's not, because inside the deep blue is the deepest red that you'll ever find, and the strongest patriots that you'll ever find as well. So I'm proud to know you all, and I'm proud to be part of this group, and I just think you do amazing things. And to the lady who's helping, where is she? Is it Jeanette with the trucker? Please do stand up. Stand up. The trucker protests in America. Yes, girlfriends. Good on you, girl. I particularly love it when people come up, because obviously you're trying to organise, you're trying to disseminate information, you don't have it all yet, nobody knows, because it's very much a moving beast. I mean, people ask me, oh, what time does your train get in 2 weeks' time? I don't even know where I'm sleeping tonight. Like, don't ask me that. So it's a very hard job to then explain to a group this, when you don't have all the information. But it doesn't matter, because you have enough information. And you have the heart. And the great thing about our side is we will take that and we will run with it, because we simply want the best for each other. And I think these truckers really, in Canada, would you believe, my darlings? Can you believe? I have always said Canadians have no personality whatsoever. None. I always say, if there's one person I don't want to be sat next to at a wedding, it's a Canadian. And then what do they go and do? They turn out to be the fighting force that all of us in our hearts needed at this moment in time. And I say to those Canadian truckers, you have thrown a lifeline out to the planet, because I really feel, we were just discussing this, the moment they started honking their way into Ottawa, we all felt it, didn't we? Yeah. Like the little hairs on my arms, little hairs on my chest, no, not those, they all stood on end, right? Because it was a moment we saw, we felt it. And it wasn't just the power of the trucks, was it? It wasn't just the alpha men that came swinging into town. It was the fact that they seemed unstoppable. And I listened to one of them this morning say, sure, come along, take my truck, take me to prison, take everything that I have, freedom matters so much more. And that is exactly, I think, how many of us feel. Sure, take everything that we have and everything that we are, freedom matters so much more. I made an offer to the truckers of Ottawa. I actually Googled to see where it was. I was like, can I fly there from LA? And I was like, oh no, that is far. Yeah, that is far. But I made an offer. I don't know if you know Rolls Royces in the UK. They have a thing on their bonnet. What do you call bonnet? What's the front of the hood? Hood. It's a very beautiful thing you've done with the English language, isn't it? Hood. Okay, good. So we would say bonnet, but you would say hood. So on the hood of a, I can't even do it without doing that. On the hood of a Rolls Royce, there's that little lady called the Spirit of Ecstasy. Do you know what I'm talking about? Just not thinking I'm this crazy British lady. No, good, okay, fine. So I offered to go to Ottawa naked on the hood of a Canadian truck and be instead the spirit of the menopause, which I thought would be... yeah, a few hot flushes and a few other things in between. I thought it would be irresistible to them. But forgive me for mentioning the word balls, but I happen to believe the reason Canadian truckers need such big trucks is because they have such big hearts. And I have to say, as a vaguely woman, although that earlier picture of me did make me look like a lesbian, I do agree. But short hair was never my thing. It was a phase. I ended up looking like one of your American soccer players, and that's never a good thing, is it? But I will say, as a woman, and I think many women in the room will agree with me, what an amazing thing to see alpha men, real men, come back to the fore. Come on! We have had enough of soys. That's what we'll say. I never want to see another soy man in a mask. I say man, as long as I goddamn live. Any soy in a mask that says to me, man! Why do they always speak like that? Just because they don't wear socks under their frigging loafers. Man, your mask! It's like they can't pronounce the letter A. Man, your mask! Yes? It needs to be up over your nose! Well, they're obsessed with it being over your nose. I like to get right in their face. And I say, this usually happens in Starbucks or somewhere, son, have you seen the size of my nose? You're gonna need to get yourself a bigger mask. My father says, you can put me in the garden and use me as a sundial. Don't laugh, it's really rude. It's all very well, except I have my father's nose. Anyway, you will know perhaps, without wanting to go into my whole backstory, because many people have heard it before, I'm ex-military, ex-business, ended up on the TV, became well-known, became the target of attacks for speaking the truth, and was systematically removed from everything and everywhere. They came from my home and they took it. They came from my jobs and they took it. And they came from my kids. They tried to take them. My kids don't have my own name anymore. We changed their names so that we would be distanced from me and be safe as a result. So I was systematically removed from life a very long time ago. But I will say to you that probably the reason for the way I am, apart from being military and determined to fight for my country one way or another, is that I'm not really one for a rule. I don't really believe in rules, especially when they're told to me by some politician who I don't trust or believe in, like Gavin Newsom, for example. Gruesome Newsom. I mean, can you even believe? When I think of him naked, which I don't do often, because I'm not desperate like Kimberly Guilfoyle, but that's a weird story right there, right? Yeah. I reckon Gavin Newsom naked looks like, you know the Ken dolls we used to have that were smooth? That is how I think of him. I don't know why that is. But I do know that I am tired of being told rules by politicians. And I believe that the time for asking permission is over. And the time for waiting to be told an answer is through. And I am not going to wait to be told what to do by some politician. You will recognise that as a British person right now, I cannot be here in your country. British people are still not allowed to travel into this country unless they have a medical procedure that they do not wish to have. Last time I broke into your fine country, I did the thing that only made sense really under a Biden administration, and I broke in via Mexico. I did, not a word of a lie. 15 days in Mexico to cleanse myself of being British, and then I broke into your fine country that way. I still had to get a negative PCR test to do that. It turns out in Mexico, though, you can buy pretty much anything. I went on the beach, saw a guy called Alejandro, who's very good looking. I gave him 20 pesos. He gave me a negative COVID test, and on I went. There was no test ever involved. And that's been pretty much the story of how I break into this country. And people say to me, how? How did you get here? But I ask them to think not how, but just to see it as me trying to lead by example, to just say, don't ask how, please may I, is it possible, is it okay if, just say that I am going, I am coming, and you're not going to stop me, and just make your way. And I think that's what the truckers are doing as well. My last little bout with the headlines. So I am officially, I think, the most banned woman on the planet. I am banned from normal things like Twitter or PayPal. I'm banned from my own bank. Last time Trump tweeted me, they took away my bank accounts that I had since I was 14 years old. I'm banned from South Africa. I am now banned from Australia for 3 years. I'm basically Novak Djokovic, but just, you know, a bit shit at tennis. And I'm banned from a little place in Great Britain called Wales. I don't know if you've heard of it. Yes. I'm not that bothered, frankly, because, you know, Wales is a bit shit. But I am very banned. And I think the reason for this is my problem with rules. But last time I was in Australia, since I've seen you last, I was deported from Australia. And it made headlines around the world. I went over there to do a really terrible TV program called Celebrity Big Brother. I don't know if any of you have heard of it. Yes, a terrible program where they lock people in a house, people who consider themselves to be celebrities. I mean, they're not really. Who are these people? Who am I? But anyway, I said I would do it because it helps earn the money that I need to keep myself on the road. So over I go to Australia. Bear in mind that this is during lockdown, which they're still under. 20 million Australian people unable to leave the island or return to the island. Despicable. And they let me go in to do a stupid TV program. I mean, this is the hypocrisy that we all know and that is so flamingly obvious to any of us that are awake. Anyway, I went in, and the other people that were going to be in that Celebrity Big Brother house were Caitlyn Jenner, he, her, she, he, and Meghan Markle's brother. Thank you very much for that special gift, America, Meghan Markle. You export many great things. Meghan Markle was not one of them. Thank you. Prince Harry used to be the best of us. He used to be the fun one. He used to turn up in Vegas dressed as a Nazi with a bevy of beauties balanced on his waist. And now, he's about as interesting as my mother-in-law. She's dead. But I agreed to go to Australia. I was therefore considered to be, you know, extremely risk. I was an extreme risk to Australia. So I was escorted off the plane by 2 police officers. I was taken to my prison quarantine hotel where I was supposed to spend 15 days alone in one room by a member of the military and a member of the Navy, Army and Navy. And I was taken up to my room on the 24th floor. They took away my key and they started to explain the rules to me. They told me that if there's so A, I'm not allowed to touch the door. B, if there's a fire alarm and I smell smoke, I'm to wait in place for further instruction. Oh, sure. Because I'm really going to be more afraid of COVID than I am of a burning building when I'm on the 24th floor, sure. Then they gave me a little egg timer thing for 30 seconds, right? And they told me that when there was a knock at the door with my food, I had to find the egg timer, turn it, wait for 30 seconds, and only then was I allowed to go to my door to answer it to pick up my food. Like, COVID is out there counting, like it knows. 28, 29. And what bothers me more about this is some sensible member of the military had to be briefed by someone up the higher chain of command in order to brief me with this kind of madness. I mean, it's insanity, right? You can barely believe, I know so many of us feel this way, we can barely believe we are alive and observing this happening, right? And sometimes when you're really in amongst it, you just want to go, am I dead? Did something weird happen? Anyway, so I'm in quarantine and it is driving me crazy. And I'm supposed to do 15 days of this. I see the hypocrisy. I see Australians not allowed to go and visit their relatives or their dying parents, and I'm sick. And I get up one morning and it's 5 a.m. jet lag. And I go online and do my Katie's Arms, you know, on YouTube that I do to just try and help cheer our side along. And I'm sitting there ranting away and I'm giving it loads. This Australian government, they're tyrants, they've locked their own people down. And look, here am I. This is the hypocrisy you're living under. I'm here to be in a house with Caitlyn Jenner when you're not allowed to travel. I was going loads. And then I looked across at my cooker, at the oven, and on top there was this olive oil. And I got me an idea. And I said, because obviously I find myself very funny indeed, and I said, you know what I'm going to do? The next time they knock on the door, I'm going to strip naked. And I'm going to get the olive oil and I'm going to coat myself in it. And then I'm going to run down the 24th floor naked. And the military are going to have to come and they're going to have to run after me and grab my naked, oily body and grab me back to my room by the ankle like a squealing pig. And I'm going to grab them and take them in the room with me and do terrible things to them. The BBC and the Daily Mail wrote up that that actually happened. Hopkins violates military on 24th floor. That was the freaking headline. My parents are Methodists. My father did not speak to me for 2 whole months. And it all kicked off. Australia was outraged, the people that couldn't travel was outraged, the people who loved the vaccine were outraged, the person that gave me the visa realised they were in the shit and needed to hide, the politicians realised they needed to hide as well, and suddenly I was public enemy number 1. There was protests outside. The Deputy Prime Minister told me I could pack my bongo drums and go home. I don't even play the bongo drums. And, I mean, it was terrible. So 2 squad vans of police came to the isolation prison, dressed in full hazmat suits. Masks, you know, the stupid frickin' visor, gloves, breathing apparatus. And they rounded me up and they took me to the plane and they walked me onto the plane and they deported my little ass from Australia, banned me for 3 years for the crime of speech, because I never left that prison room. And you know, I'm not even that sad about it, because it helped many people feel that they finally had a voice. And I don't mind not going back there, because it bothers me not. But what I always believe about our side, and there's so many of you in this room that I know personally have done exactly this with all the things that have happened in your life, is that when they smack us down, like whack-a-mole, the key thing is that we pop right up somewhere else, just to piss them off, right? So within 2 weeks of me being, you know, what is the liberal media, of course, loved it. Hopkins deported, Hopkins will never travel again, Hopkins humiliated, Hopkins the sexual violator. I mean, I wish. Put me in Ottawa, I tell you, there'll be some violation going on. But, so up I pop 2 weeks later in Arizona, ready to carry on the fight for our side. And in Arizona with the great Patriots there, I happened to walk past this tattoo bar, and it was called The Leap of Faith. And it called to my soul because I have 3 teenage children. I have 2 teenage daughters. People ask me why I'm on the road so much. I have 2 teenage daughters. I tell my girls, I say, leap, leap, and your wings will unfurl on the way down. I mean, if they don't, it'll be too late, won't it? So, but leap of faith. So in I went, and I don't think I've exposed this before here, have I, Greg? Okay, so I'm going to get my ass out, but just so you're prepared. I got the deported stamp from my passport, the big red deported stamp. I got it tattooed on my ass. Sorry, salt monitor, see Greg if you're offended. And I sent a picture of it to the Deputy Prime Minister of Australia for his wall. I was in front of 1,000 Mormons not so very long ago in Salt Lake City, and as part of my last tour, rallying the rebel armies of America, as I see myself. And a lady that was looking after me, or at least trying to, she said, now Katie, you know, Mormons, okay, just, you know, be nice. Just know, you know, don't swear, you know, no, don't talk about drinking, and whatever you do, don't show them your ass. So now I'm on stage at Salt Lake, this is only a few months ago, there's 1,000 Mormons, it's a massive room. And that we were all having a lovely time. We were laughing and joking, and I went, I was told that today I had to be good and not offend any of you. And they're going, no, go on, offend us! And I looked back and I saw the lady's face backstage like, oh dear God. So I was told I'm not allowed to show you my ass. And 1,000 Mormons were like, show us your ass! So I did. Not sure Salt Lake City is ever going to be the same again. But the thing is, look, I know it's not funny. It's not funny. Nothing's funny. I see this room, I see friends and faces I know, and people are really beaten down. I was in Santa Clarita the other day, and you could feel, people said afterwards, God, we needed this, because it's been long, hasn't it? This has been long, and you just think, when does this end? Like, this just is never ending. And so many things have happened at such a level. I personally believe, deeply, that all of us, here in America, across the UK, across many, many countries, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, we are carrying injuries from this last 2 years. And unlike a car accident or cancer or something terrible, which is awful, but these injuries can't be seen. And they're not talked about because they're not a car accident. You don't have a broken arm to show someone. But we are injured by 2 years of living amongst absolute insanity. And we're injured by losing our family members as well. People talk of COVID deaths, but they do not acknowledge deaths in families of people who are still alive, but no longer speak to members of their family. And this is universal. I know there'll be people in here who know precisely what I'm talking about. There are, and very often it's the son who's married to the daughter-in-law, and because they now don't agree with, call it my politics, or my decision about the state injectable, they don't speak anymore. And the grandchildren very often are held almost as if in ransom. And I know many, many grandparents on our side who don't see or speak to many of their children anymore, not from their choice, but those relationships are withheld. These are injuries that we are carrying. And I feel them acutely everywhere I go. But I can promise you this. One of the glorious things I also feel from traveling coast to coast, pillar to pillar, endlessly on the road, is that this has been an incredible time of waking up more people than at any time in history that I have ever known before. I have never known so many people awake to what we're facing. And this is no longer about necessarily politics, though we all have our convictions. This is about people who simply want the very best for each other and want everybody to be okay. And that's who we are, and it's a bloody great side to be on. I guarantee, when is that the Palm Springs rally? When did you say it's the 13th of?
Coachella Valley?
Yeah, Coachella Valley is on the 13th of?
March 13th.
March 13th. Coachella Valley, March 13th. I guarantee it will be a festival now of freedom. And I keep telling people that as I go around speaking in the UK at these gatherings. It is not a protest. People say to me, protests don't work. What's all this sign waving? What's it for? It achieves nothing. It does. It's a festival of freedom every time, and every time people look around and they realise they're not alone. And it's so incredibly powerful. Where I've just left in the UK, the same as others have suffered here, and I'm so sorry for it. Our socialised healthcare staff were told they had to have the vaccine, mandatory vaccines for our NHS. 6th of February, that was the line. And you know what? Over 100,000 nurses held the line, and doctors too. They held the line. And even though many of them, single mothers, had mortgages, you know, our gut instinct is to protect and provide for our kids, isn't it, at all expense. But yet they held the line. And for this one time, an amazing time in my lifetime, on the 4th of February, they still held it. And we were out rallying them, asking them to hold firm, and they did. And on the day before, they would have all been fired. The government did a U-turn, pulled back, and said it would not enforce the mandate for our NHS workers. And I truly believe that's where I still find the optimism. It's the Canadian truckers, it's the 100,000 NHS workers in the UK, it's the Maoris performing the haiku outside Wellington Parliament building in New Zealand. Any woman that is not naked within 3 seconds of hearing the haiku is clearly mentally unstable. It's all of these people reaching out to help lift up our side. And I think what we've had to do in this age where they are trying to dehumanize humanity is we have to simply be more human than ever before. And that's precisely why I love this group. I love this place, I love the waitresses here, because they work like Billy, all of you, you're amazing. I say it every time. They don't stop. You are the most human of all. And every time we gather, every time we give someone a hug, that is fighting back. And I know you can't hear us, but you know, 20 million decent British people are your family as well. My family are this family on the road. It's nothing about blood anymore. And although Americans are weird, and you are really weird, in loads of ways, no one's ever told an American that, you know, you can put luggage like under the plane in the hold. You don't know about that.
Really?
You have to carry it on, I've seen. It's very painful watching you. On Southwest, you're allowed 2 carry-on items. Every time you stand there with at least 14, arguing that that's just 2. Trying to get you lot off a plane with all your carry-on items. It's a freaking joke. I always want to just yell, "It's a bomb! There's a bomb in 43C!" Just to get you to move your asses a bit faster off the plane. And you're really weird when you go shopping as well. You have something called Costco. What is a Costco? I don't even understand. It's why conservative women have such strong pelvic floors. Because you push those things, we call them trolleys. What do you call them? Carts! Oh, it's a beautiful thing the Americans did to the English language. Carts! Jeez. Who needs that much milk? What do? Bathe in the frickin' stuff. You want a grape? Here, have the whole friggin' vineyard. Ground beef? Have the whole herd. Who needs that much shit in their lives? You do. But although you're weird, you are still the best of us. And let me tell you this, from the British people that I know, we always look to you for hope as well. And as much as you may feel beaten down right now, hope is always alive. I walk in this room and I feel it every time. This is hope. Because you absolutely have your faith. You have your Second Amendment, which separates you from the rest of us any goddamn day. And you will always have your freedom. In an age where they try to dehumanize humanity, I think we have to be more human than ever before. And I really came here to tell you, and thank you, because you are truly some of the best human beings that I know. Thank you for listening to me. My name's Katie Hopkins.
Katie wanted to get out the door quickly, but I persuaded her to stay for a few questions. If anyone has something they would like to ask, come forward. Oh, Rita.
Thank you. Thank you, Katie. Entertaining as always. And I just don't know why that guy couldn't tell the difference between us. I think it's kind of racist that he can't tell the difference between 2 British women who have blonde hair. Anyway, but my question is how open is Britain? I'm on a page there with the Cotswolds, and at some point, that's been my dream to come back to where my relatives originated.
Okay, so how open is Britain? And it's open to vaccinated. I don't know what the rule is for unvaccinated, honestly. I will say, on a very positive note, that because Boris Johnson, or as I call him, the potato in a wig, utterly screwed up and was partying whilst he locked everybody else down, he's now lifted all mandates, everything, so we no longer have any of that sort of face masks or any of that. The vaccine, though, is very much still the push. And yesterday they announced they're going to begin vaccinating 5-year-olds. So, you know, we see what we're still up against. So you will get back there, I'm sure. I fear that the country you may remember is not the one that we will present to you now. And that's been one of the hard things, is seeing my country fall. But yeah, we are at a point of the vaccine, the face masks and all of that nonsense being lifted.
John.
Hey, Katie. Unfortunately, I wasn't fast enough with my camera. Can I get another picture of your tattoo and send it to the Democrats?
Sure, I'll do it when I come down. Is that good?
Oh, sure. Happy to do it.
Okay.
Thanks a lot. It's extra big deported. It's just one.
Guys ask me that a lot.
Yes. Ass pictures cost only $100, John.
I didn't get to see that properly. Can I get the whole ass?
Agnes.
Hi, Katie. Thank you so much for being here. It's awesome to see you and to have you uplift our souls, because I think we're all broken down pretty much. And in England, you do need a vaccination, because a friend of mine in Hungary wants to go to England to watch the Manchester games, and they're mandated to have the booster also. Up to 4 vaccines right now, but I just wanted to say thank you for lifting our spirits, and God bless you.
Thank you, Agnes. Warrior.
Artie.
Katie, I just want to say thank you for your courage and strength to withhold everything that you've gone through. You are such an example to all of us who have had fear put into our souls, and your strength has uplifted us greatly.
Thank you. That's very kind.
Sam.
Have you spoken to any sheeple physician groups with regard to their sheepleness and, I don't know. I'm unemployed, so if you need a doctor, anybody hiring a doctor, does this place need a waiter?
Yeah, Sam is looking for work. Anybody can, gardening. He does windows. So yeah.
Chinese laundry? Look, seriously, have you spoken to any physician groups? Because they are in the front line, or even the nurses group, but a lot of times doctors are sheepos, and we have a lot of online conversation about this. Have you spoken to them?
You know, and it's one of the, and I just think, I'm sure this whole room offers you all the support we can give you, because you have held the line and lost your job as a result of it. And it is absolute insanity that could happen in our lifetime. And I'm so sorry. And I know that doesn't help.
No, it's a blessing. I have lots of time now to canvas.
You do. And I do think always, and I have felt this way in other times in my life when I've had my jobs or house taken or whatever, or head, although I got to keep that, is actually these things can be, as well as painful, they can be very freeing. And as alongside that trucker today, I know, okay, they took your house, they took your jobs, they took my bank account, they took my whatever, and then there comes a point where you're able to say, come on then, what have you got? Because I am still here, I am still standing, I am coming again, and you've got nothing you can take from me. And they know prison doesn't frighten me either. And that actually is an incredibly freeing thing. Because fear, very often, is something that is, people are able to use fear because you are frightened of losing things, or frightened of having things taken from you. But when you reconcile with having nothing, and also for me, reconciling with the end, death doesn't scare me either, it does make you ultimately free. There's nothing to be afraid of. It's why I'm able to use public transport in America, because I have no fear whatsoever. I wanted to tell you actually, Union Station, Greg unraveled the mystery for me. Normally at Union Station, I go there to do working with the homeless, understanding, showing what a Democrat-run city looks like. Last time I was in Union Square, it was the closest thing to hell that I've come to in a long time. Today, Union Station, completely different station. Clean, tidy, piano playing in the background, someone polishing the brass work. I was elated. Honestly, I was like thanking the security. It was great. And then I said to Greg, I don't understand how they've done it. And he was like, it was for the Super Bowl. I knew it would be for something, but I tell you what the positive out of it is that when there is a will, there is a way. I know that moves the problem along, but I also know that we do need to protect things like transport hubs. But to your initial question, sorry, I have tried to speak to these doctors and nurses, and certainly many of my friends, lifetime friends, I am no longer part of their friendship circle because they are NHS professionals, and I can't bring it is not in my heart to still be able to be part of that, because I believe they've perpetuated the biggest lie in human history.
Yes.
So I do personally understand a little of what you say.
Thank you for sharing your evening with us, and I've heard you on a number of radio shows around the country, arithmetic taxes and so forth. You've said some interesting comments about the American vernacular. So I thought I'd ask you about a British colloquialism. What does toss-pup mean?
Well, yes, I shouldn't really knock the beautiful American language because I do love it. And I don't really knock Americans either. Actually, at airports, this happens nearly every time. So where I come from, the military are no longer really respected. They have to change out of their uniforms in order to walk down the street because that makes them a target. And you'll know we had a couple of soldiers beheaded not so long ago. But in American airports, you still do this amazing thing where you ask your veterans to board first, or you give them priority boarding. And it sets me off every time, because you step back, you thank them for the service, and you let them board. And that's why America remains such a beautiful country to me, and I can be in floods of tears when this happens. And people will be like, are you all right? Are you having to leave someone? I'm like, no, you're just so nice to your military. It kills me. So yes, I shouldn't knock your language. It is beautiful, especially your cards and your horns. Oh no, what was it? Hood. A tosspot is a tosspot is a cockwomble, and a cockwomble is a asshole, and an asshole is well, like Newsom. Newsom is a tosspot.
Yes, but we do drive on the right side of the road.
So, my ancestry comes from the British Isles, okay? And I remember being in London and walking around going, these are my peeps, all these pear-shaped women. And they all looked like me. But the most important thing about what we got from England was not our shape, but what's in our hearts and what's in our heads about liberty. And that came from you. And the people, it came from England because we came here and we're a new people, but we came with roots from England. And we have those same values and attitudes. I believe, Winston Churchill said it. I mean, when it gets really tough, I believe the British will do an armada and save their country, And we've got the best here, and we're trying to save our country. And so it's Australia. Those people that are being quarantined, they are pissed, like
You're right. And I think of it like, California once upon a time came to the UK to take cuttings from our grapes or our vineyards, and you transplanted them here in California and made the best wines ever. And I see it that way in many ways with these trips that I do, is that one day some good solid British people will need to come back to America to take trimmings from your vines to replant the Christian faith back into the UK, because we will surely fall before then, but I believe it was America that will help us rise again. So this comradeship, this kindred thing that I feel is very strong here, but I have nothing but admiration for Americans, because you try taking, the British people will not have the right to own their own vehicle within the next 5 years. You have my word on that. We will not have the right to have a car. We will lose that right. But you try taking a Ford truck off of an American. You're like trying to take a weapon off an American, and that isn't happening either. So it's why I find it really invigorating to be in your fine country, because you are the best of us.
we're hanging on to prices, but by and large, the COVID tyranny is receding. I think they figured out they've gotten as much as they can out of it, and it's time to pull back at least partially on that until the next one. So I think there's maybe two parts of this. One is remembering what the government did. They exaggerated this, they denied access to useful drugs, they pushed a vaccine that doesn't work, it causes all sorts of problems, and we say it may cause a lot more down the road. But the second part, and you address both parts, is the people, by and large, new disease, deadly disease. Okay, sure, take my freedom. And the vast majority of people unquestioningly are willing to surrender their freedom when the government said, we need to protect you from this deadly disease.
Yeah, and I think that's been one of the hardest things for us, is how quickly we saw people that we counted as friends or family or colleagues, how quickly we saw many of them fall or turn. It was the speed of that fall that was the most upsetting thing. I think in counter to that is the darkness always has to come very close for the light to shine brightest. And I believe now that the darkness is so close, we are seeing Canadian truckers, the rest. I will be back in London on the 18th of March to stand and help our side hold the line. The brightest of us are coming to the fore. So we rally on. I know that we see what's coming next, is that COVID will pass seamlessly into the climate stuff, and that's what we'll be locked down for next. We see it coming, but this time I think we're going to be a bit more ready. Okay, I better love this. People probably would like to go home, I think.
One last question, but I'm going to thank you for coming to our meeting, coming to America again. We always enjoy your presence, your appearances here, and you're both funny, but you have substance behind the funny, and we appreciate both sides of that. And my last question is this. We all know that Britain has 2 T's. How did you guys misspell the country?
Thank you for that. Thank you very much for listening to me. Thank you for your time. I appreciate all of you.